forgot to put on my headphones. My headset is connected. Your health fitness program manager from McLean, and I'm really looking forward to bringing you today's Yin Yoga practice. Today's practice is all about creating space and length and good feelings for our spine. So, a lot of focus on some gentle back bends and then also a little bit of hip opening because usually when our back is feeling kind of sore, our hips are tight, maybe even the back of our legs are tight. I highly, highly recommend bringing some blocks, maybe some pillows, because we've got some like puppy pose coming up. We got some seal coming at you today. And otherwise, we're mostly just hanging out on the floor. Not going to make you do any standing squats or dangles, even though they're my fave. But we're going to find some other similar ways to open the hips. Class starts in a delightful 2 minutes. Wow, where did the time go already? I'm going to get my other timer. Because great news, I bought myself some new timers. I forgot to even look for the ones that I'm pretty sure I left on a pole at campus after the trick or treat. But it's okay. It's okay because now I've got 6 amazing new timers and I can leave them anywhere. All right, so class is going to start in Savasana on the floor. So make your way down there. Let me just come over here to my computer and make sure everything's recording normally. So far, it looks good. I like that bright spot on the floor. Makes me feel like I'm a yoga angel. You know what? I hope that when you step on your mats, you feel like yoga magical too. Yay. So let's make our way down to the floor to get ready for today's practice. We still have a little extra time, so if you want to give yourself any other additional movements, go for it. You might want to have some water nearby. We're not going to have any specific water breaks during today's class. However, you know your body best, so if you need to grab some water, grab some water. But I encourage you to do so between postures because the goal of Yin is to create as much stillness as possible, not just in your body, but also stillness in your mind. So remember throughout class, if your eyes are moving, your mind is moving. Find one spot to focus your eyes on the ceiling or wall. Take a soft gaze, or maybe just close your eyes and do the best that you can to create the asanas, the postures that I bring to you today through my descriptions. Bam! We're going to go ahead and get started down on our backs in Savasana, spending the first 3 minutes of our class just taking a little bit of grace for ourselves. Oh my gosh. Wow, it's so weird. I feel like my body felt great until I made it to the floor today, and now I notice that my lower back is a little sore. Well, good thing we're doing this spine-focused class. You can allow your heels to touch, maybe your toes to fall open, maybe you take your legs a little wider. However it is that you find yourself down on the mat, I want you to really melt into the floor. So take notice with each exhale. If you can make your body a little heavier, just sinking more deeply into your mat. Get as much of the back of your head, maybe even your neck, your shoulders, that low back, your glutes, the back of your legs, completely relaxed here. If that's a little too much pressure on your low back, if you find that you're still wincing or whatnot, then you get to bend your knees. You can tent them towards each other for a little support, but sometimes taking a little gentle tilt of that pelvis, getting a little bit more engagement of your abs is what feels right today. So, however you found your Savasana, we have just over a minute and a half here. Every inhale, creating awareness, just noticing how your body is feeling. If there are any points that are feeling really tense, tight, tired, or uncomfortable, and exhale, do your best to just let it go. So let go of the tension, let go of any expectation you might have had. Sometimes when our bodies are feeling a little bit tighter and we're not quite as flexible or in a position to move as easily as possible, we get really down on ourselves. We start to feel bad. Don't feel bad. You should be so proud of yourself for coming today and for just intending to do the best that you can. Every day is different. Every day our bodies are different. You might feel one way in the morning and feel completely different in the afternoon. I'm hoping that you felt one way when you got on the mat and that you're going to feel completely different when you step off of it. So let's take 3 more deep breaths here. Inhale, belly rises and fills. Exhale, falls. Beautiful final 3 breaths in Savasana. Next, we're going to come into a spinal twist. So go ahead, stretch your arms out to the side. Have those props nearby. I'm going to roll over and reach for mine. Set myself up for some success. And then I'm going to press into the soles of my feet, roll onto one hip, and drop the knees over to one side. If you're having trouble getting the knees towards the floor, think about maybe placing a prop under your leg. Maybe you want to place a prop between your legs. And if you want to get your neck involved, you can always turn and look over the opposite shoulder. I've got like some real spider scares in here lately. The opposite shoulder that your knees are pointing. We're going to spend a little over 1 more minute right here. So create some space, shoulders relaxing away from your ears. Still being heavy with the mat. It's okay if your breath is noticeable in today's class. I want you to make sure that you are still breathing, that you don't come into any stretch that's so deep that you find that you hold your breath. Stillness in the body and mind, but lots of movement through the lungs into the diaphragm. And over time, you can work towards the idea of really quieting your breath as well. All right. Bring some of those props along with you. Take your time. We're going to roll onto our backs again. Bring the soles of the feet to the floor. Press into them to lift up your hips to get the full back relaxed on the mat for just a moment. And then press into the soles of the feet again. We'll drop our knees over to the opposite side. Yay. Remember, you have the option to take the twist of your head to look in the other direction of your knees to bring your neck into the party. Make sure you're still creating that space, shoulders away from ears. And I will once again remind you That if your eyes are moving, your mind is moving. So find that one space, relax your gaze, or close your eyes. Do your best to keep your thoughts on the here and now, which is why I suggested inhaling in awareness and exhale, letting it go. It's so normal if other thoughts, fears, concerns, whatever are popping into your head throughout the practice. If they do, take a moment, acknowledge them, breathe through them, and just come back to your breath. And if you find that it's hard to let go of your external thoughts, I personally find counting the length of your breath, counting the length of your exhale is a great way to work towards being here and now. Also, it's a great little additional note of when I say 1 minute left that you can think to yourself, cool, I've got like 5 breaths left to go in this posture. And I know for me, sometimes that makes it a little easier to hang out and hold. All right. Next up, whichever direction your knees are in, let's go ahead and bring our arms in the same direction. So we're just kind of hanging out for a second in a fetal position. Remove any props that you're using. And with intention, press yourself up. And we're going to come into tabletop right here at the center of the mat. So bringing those hands, palms underneath of your chest and shoulders. Open your fingers really wide, like a starfish. Feel a little stretching of the webbing of your fingers, and notice if you're collapsing into your shoulders, if your chest is coming closer towards your elbow creases, and press into those hands, palms. Do a little engagement of that abdominal core. Take a moment here, just in tabletop, even pressing the tops of the feet down into the floor to really engage your belly. And then you can relax here a little bit, still keeping that nice flat back, maybe a little less pressure of the feet into the mat. But we're going to cat cow it out for one delightful minute. Oh, tucking your chin to your chest, making sure you're still using your breath. I like to inhale into cat and then I like to exhale into cow. But if you found it more normal to exhale into cat and inhale into cow, oh, just make sure you're still breathing. If you're a cat or you're a cow, wants to, check out what's happening through the valley and look over one shoulder, getting a little into the side of the body and looking over the other shoulder. We're going to bring a nice gentle stretch to the sides of our body at the very end of class. You go for it. Maybe you go for some circles. This is just a couple more seconds and breaths of you. Once again, just exploring how your body feels today, what movements it is that you can be thankful for, finding what does feel good. And next up, we're going to come into puppy pose. So if you know that you're really tight in your chest and your back, highly recommend bringing a prop to this party. Similar to child's pose, puppy pose has us walking those hands forward. But instead of sending your hips back towards your heels, you're going to bring your chest down towards the floor and keep your hips stacked on top of your knees. I'm going to go for a real gentle puppy pose today. This one's just like your dog waking up in the morning. So I took my blocks and I laid them the second highest way that they can be, bringing that head closer towards the mat. In fact, I'm going to bring another prop to the party so that I have something to relax my head on, because yin is all about relaxing as much as possible. This is going to be our first long active posture. I know some of you are already there. Good for you if you found what works already. Take the next couple seconds to find what does work for you. Remember, we're working to keep that stillness. We're going to spend 2 minutes right here. Now we want to find a posture that we are aware of. So for this one, you might feel a little or a lot of pressure in that mid to lower back. You might feel a lot of stress or strain even through the shoulders, because we have our arms all the way forward. If at any point you're noticeable and maybe uncomfortable stretch starts to tiptoe the area of being painful, that's when you come out of the posture. But if you're just feeling a little uncomfortable or awkward, ask yourself if you can stick with it. Sometimes we need to make ourselves a little uncomfortable so that we can create change. You got to put yourself out there. All right, one more silent minute right here. Just breathe. Great work, great silence and stillness. Let's move these props to the side. We're going to bring ourselves forward, belly's coming down to the floor. You can walk those legs back gently. Forearms come down to the mat. Move my prop away so you can see as we come into Sphinx Pose. We're going to spend 2 minutes here in Sphinx Pose. So make your way. And remember, all of these postures that we are doing right now are about some form of a back bend. So you should be feeling some sort of a stretch in your back. I find that the more that I really press that belly button towards the floor, the more I feel it in that mid to low back. If this is too much for you, though, to keep yourself lifted, I want you to release yourself down towards the floor. You can still press that belly down into the mat. Be an alligator instead of a sphinx. Otherwise, we've got 1 to 2 more minutes right here. So I got my elbows right underneath of my shoulders. You know that sphinx is looking forward, but if that's too much on the back of your neck, then set your eye gaze a little down towards the floor. Relax the lower half of your body as much as possible. Continue with those big deep breaths, belly button pressing down towards the mat. Belly button is touching down on the mat, at least now to begin with. Now, if you want to go for a little bit more, option to finish up our last minute here, pressing into those hands palms, straightening your arms, still working to keep those shoulders down and back as you come into seal. Ask yourself, what kind of relax and release can you bring towards the lower half of your body, keeping the focus on this back bend? Keeping those lats engaged so that we're not wearing our shoulders as earrings. And if you are wearing your shoulders as earrings, perhaps release those forearms back down towards the mat. Hang out a little bit longer in Sphinx. And if you're all the way down in Alligator, being smart for your body today, you get to stay there. We've got about 2 breaths left here, presuming that you're breathing in for 5 to 6 seconds and exhaling for 5 to 6 seconds. If you want to finish and be a little silly, you can really go for seal. So go ahead, bend those knees, look up, look back. Can you see your toes today? Can you touch the top of your head with those toes? I can't. It's okay. Let's go ahead, release ourselves down towards the mat. Meet everyone who's hanging out an alligator. Bring your forehead to the back of your hands palms. Bend your knees and take a little windshield wipe of those legs. Just windshield wiping through the heels to get rid of any strain or stress that you might have built up in that lower back. Feels so good. Next up, we're going to come into an extended child's pose. So press yourself up, bring your hands palms close to your chest. You can keep those knees as wide as feels right for your body today, bringing those toes towards each other. We're going to send our hips back towards our heels. I'm going to bring my timer with me, and we're going to hang out in child's pose. We're going to stay here for about 3 minutes. So if you have a cold, because I know, unfortunately, it's cold season. And you don't want to have your head all the way down to the floor below your heart because you know that all the mucus is going to drain up to your head, or maybe you like it. Option to pick your head up and place it on a block or a prop and still keep those hips back towards your heels. You have 2.5 minutes from right now. Now, if your shoulders are hurt earlier, in that puppy pose, take a generous bend of your elbows here. Maybe elbows are close towards knees, or maybe you're going for a little bit more of a tadpole and stretching your hands all the way back towards your heels. Palms can even face up towards the ceiling. You can get a nice stretch to that upper back by allowing those shoulders to separate a little bit more than they would have if your arms were forward. Remember, it doesn't matter what you did yesterday, last year, when you were in college. It's all about how your body feels right now. So honor what feels good today. We got just 1 minute left, and a reminder that there's no need to go any deeper in any of the postures once you found your hold. Stay right where you are and just enjoy the stillness and the stretch. Great work. Press yourself up. We're going to come to a seated position now. Yay! And we're going to extend one leg in front of us. Because next up, we're going to come into stump, but we're going to be cool. And we're going to do single leg stump. If your hamstrings are really tight, sitting on the floor with one leg extended might not feel good. Might be a lot on that back too. So I want to remind you that you can lift yourself up, whether it be on a block or even just a gentle lift on a towel can make such a big difference. And next up is stump. So you're bringing the heel of your foot as close towards your glute to the center line of your body as possible. This is like a whole another party up here on the block. So much more open. So if you really notice how tight and close your hips are, just another option or consideration right here, because we're going to spend 2 minutes on each leg. Then we're going to do both at the same time. I just want you to be prepared. So shoulders release and relax away from your ears. Elbows can hang heavy. I know that when I'm doing this one down on the floor, I like to really use my elbow and bring it into the crook of my body. But remember, we're moving on from the back bends now into hip openers. So the focus should be a little maybe pressuring your lower ab and your hip. Maybe you feel it towards the glute, but find that release in your upper body as much as possible. A little draw in of your core is going to keep that back feeling good. And if you found that you need to bring your leg a little more towards the side, you're doing what feels good for you. You're making it work. Now I feel bad for telling you you might not have wanted a strap because maybe you did want a strap to help you with this one. So it's not too late to grab whatever props make you happy and feel supported. I also want to assure you guys that I show up to yoga classes where the teacher or other people in class do things that I cannot do. And there is not competition in yoga. Do I want to be able to do crow? Sure do. But I also want to be smart for my body. So it's okay. It's okay if that doesn't happen. All right, let's swap those legs out. We're going to get 2 minutes of our stump on the other side, relaxing, releasing the glutes into whatever you're sitting on. Nice little lift of the chest, a draw in of the belly. Hopefully, you started with your right leg. If not, that's okay. Stump is very similar to wind removing. So we're just getting a little stimulation of those digestive organs as well. And in such cases, I do always like to start right side first because that gets our ascending colon. Left side gets descending colon, and both legs up together, especially if those legs are closer together, hits the transverse colon. Relax that upper body, relax your mind. 1 minute left right here. All right, next up, we're going to come into our full stump. So if you want, go ahead, extend both legs out for a second, bring your hands behind you. Well, maybe give yourself a little supported back bend. Maybe shake those legs out just a little bit, bobbing or windshield wiping. I'm going to turn to the side because modesty. And next up, we have both legs coming in for stump. Remember, this is our alternate to a squat. So you're working to get those feet nice and wide, about hips width distance apart, as close to your glutes as you can. Find a little lifting of that back. So try not to round through the back here, really bring in the belly towards the thighs. Remember, you can sit up on a block. That would probably make this a lot easier. Oh, find that relaxation in the upper body. We're going to spend 2 minutes here from right now. Relax your eyes, relax your mind, relax your breath, belly towards thighs. Maybe you feel it a little in the lower back and we're opening those hips. Great work. We're going to extend those legs out nice and wide as feels good for your body today. Oh, next up is Dragonfly. Feel free to allow those toes to fall away from the face, and you can bring your blocks back to the party here as well. So if your low back is still a big issue, maybe you bring your hands behind your back. Rolling those toes up towards the ceiling is gonna, at least for me, feel a little bit more towards those inner thighs into the hips than I do if my toes are collapsing down towards the floor, which it does bring a nice stretch towards the outer thighs. So remember, find what works for you. I like to have those toes pointing up because remember, the goal here is hip opening. And for me, I need to find a little bit of a forward lean. So if you're going to find a forward lean, if you're going to find rounding in your back, first start off with a nice long spine. Use that breath. Long spine forward and then exhale. If it still feels good, you can release yourself a little further forward. This is going to be our longest posture of the day. We got a total of 5 minutes here. We're already in it to win it. So less than 5 minutes to go. It's very normal as we hang out here. If you notice twitching, trembling, shaking, but on the most part, we're going to be as still as we can. So find that focus with your eyes or close them. Tune into your breath. Relax your upper body as much as you can. And remember, if the stretch goes from being noticeable and becomes painful, you're going to just lift yourself up and release. But if the stretch is just uncomfortable, breathe through it. Remember, the point is not to go deeper. The point is just to stay right where you are. A little over a minute left. Start your total body scans if you haven't been doing them. Scanning from the top of your head. Check in with your facial features and any tightness you might be bringing with your shoulders, with your chest. Keep the stretch as much as possible in the lower half of the body. Keep the stretch and also the tension. 1 minute left. Amazing. If you hinged forward, take your time, carefully walk yourself back up and in. Let's bring our hands behind us, bend those knees, take a moment to just windshield wipe through those legs, stretch a little bit more towards outside of the glutes, and then carefully lay yourself down on your back. Just some couple more postures in the back. Make sure you have some space to reach those arms up overhead in a moment. All right. We were going to do some wind removing, but you know what? We already did stump. So let's go ahead and get those side body stretches before final Savasana. Inhale your arms up overhead. And I like to even cross one thumb over the other. I'm holding my own hand because I think I'm so special. All right, keeping your hips right where they are in the center. Go ahead, walk your legs over to the right side as much as you can, as much as feels good for you today. You can either keep your feet side by side or experimenting with crossing one leg over the other. And then walk your upper body over to the right as much as possible too. So the goal is to have a big stretch from your hip down through your heel and from your hip also up through your shoulders, maybe even through your fingers. Keep as much of those shoulders on the mat as you can. See if you can still even have a little bit of space. So I'm not trying to choke myself out with forearms around the head and shoulders coming up towards ears. I still have a gentle bend in my elbows so that there can be some space between my shoulders and my head. It's called my neck. Just breathe through it. Great. Let's move those arms back to center first because we moved them last. Arms come back to center. Uncross your legs if you cross them. Walk or wiggle your legs back to center. Take at least one breath here. Keep that lower back down on the mat. Slight engagement of your belly. Start to walk your legs over to the opposite side. And you can cross your legs if that feels good. Maybe it feels right on one side and it didn't feel right on the other. And then walk those arms to the side. Remember to not muscle through it so there's a little space, shoulders away from ears. This feels great. Excellent. All right, walking those hands back to center, uncrossing those legs, walking those legs back to center. On your next exhale, release those arms down by your side. We're going to come into our final savasana here. So make any adjustments that you need to. Maybe you roll gently side to side. Get as much of your back, shoulders, back of head, everything flat on the mat. Remember, if your back is still not feeling great, take that bend of your knees, tent them together once again, a little uh, anterior tilt of the pelvis to get that lower back flat on the mat. We're going to spend 5 minutes here. We're already in it. We're in it to win it. We got 5 minutes of final savasana together. And don't you get up and run away because savasana is also a posture. It's corpse pose. It's the yin of every class because the whole point is stillness. I want you to really use your breath every exhale. Feel your body get a little heavier, feel a little bit more supported by the mat. Really scan yourself inch by inch. Take the tension out of your face, your chest, and shoulders. Take it out of your belly and your back, glutes, your forearms, your hips, your legs, your knees, your ankles, your toes. Everything is relaxing on the floor as much as it can. I want you to notice in these last few minutes any ways you might feel different than when class started. And I know when I first started doing yoga and people would say that, I'd be like, I don't feel any different. And you know what? If you feel that way, that's okay too, because you still showed up. So that's great. But perhaps you find it a little easier to take a relaxed breath. Perhaps there's an extra second with less fidgeting. Maybe there's one spot of your body that feels a little more buzzy or open. Maybe your whole body feels more relaxed. I want you to think about one positive thing that came from you coming to your mat today. Whether that truly is feeling better, feeling more relaxed, or just the pride that you take in showing up for yourself. Let that bring a gentle smile to your face. I hope that my breathing wasn't too loud because I'm super self conscious about it now that teaching class with these headphones in. If anything, maybe it's like if you have a partner who snores and you just know that they're alive and that makes you happy too. I'm still breathing and you are too. And that's amazing. All right, you're invited and encouraged to stay in this Savasana for as long as feels right for you. That was 5 minutes. If you'd like to close out class together, bring a little wiggle to your fingers and a wiggle to your toes. Slowly wake your extremities up. Maybe windshield wipe your knees. And we can close out class together in a seated position. All you have to do is get there or stay in Savasana. If you made it to a seated position, yay, one extra posture. It's Sukhasana. Let's inhale those arms all the way up overhead. Find a little bit of length. Bring your hands palms together. Exhale, bring your hands down to heart center. Thumbs touching on your chest and sternum. Keep that beautiful lift of your chest and just tuck your chin to it. Bow to yourself. Thank you so much for coming today. If you have any questions or concerns about anything that I said or we did, I hope you'll reach out till we are together again. Continue to think good thoughts, speak good words, do good deeds, eat good foods, take the time to nourish yourself from the inside out. Again, I'm really glad you came and joined me. Please know that the light within me honors, sees, and is so thankful for the light within you. Keep up those positive thoughts and intentions. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Namaste.